Imagine, just remember, the enemy on the left, you on the right, and in the middle making a decision, them declaring you as an essential services. Divide the people into hostile groups by constantly harping on controversial matters of no importance. Amen. What are we seeing right now with the BLM? What are we seeing with Antifa? What are we seeing with all those people that are pillaging and burning cities and stuff, right? It's a shifting of the focus. Do not focus on D.C., on Washington, D.C., on the White House, Black House. Do not focus over there. What they're doing, focus on what is happening on your streets. Divide and conquer. Divide the people into hostile groups. Chinese, Asians, and blacks, and whites, and all of this garbage from the pit of hell. Destroy the people's faith. And listen to this, that's very powerful. Destroy the people's faith in their natural leaders by holding up the latter to ridicule, contempt, or obliquely. Ridicule. Mock. Call them names. In my church, half of the people, half of the congregants are colored people. Because I don't care. I really don't. I don't care what color of your skin is. I care about your character. I care about your soul. So we have blacks, we have Asians, we have Jamaicans, we have everyone. I don't even look that way. I'm not wired that way. For me, you're a human being. For me, you're a sister or a brother or someone that potentially can be my sister or my brother. God created you for a purpose. He created you for a reason. He loves you. He died for you, and that's good enough for me. Oh, you're not perfect, but guess what? If you think I am perfect, call my wife. She will not hesitate. She will quickly tell you I'm not perfect because she preaches the truth. Amen. We are imperfect people. We have our own problems, and we're doing our best to follow a perfect God, a holy God that has everything together. So they want to remove pastors who was, historically speaking, a natural-born leader. It was the police officer. I remember the times when I would look at an officer or a soldier in their uniforms. It was like, wow, to serve and to protect. It's a calling. It's a gift. It's not a job. It should never be a job. To be a doctor, it's not a job. It should never be a job. It's a calling. To save lives, it's a calling. The same with the clergyman. It's a calling. It's not a job. If you're doing this as a job, please quit. Amen. Obviously, you're not qualified to do this. Because if it's just a job, you will be doing like a taxi driver, just driving people from one place to another. You don't care about anything else. But a doctor, a pastor, or a priest, police officer, soldier, we all are willing to die for what we do. That's a big difference. We all are willing to risk our lives to do what we're doing, to save lives. They want to remove those natural leaders and call them names. I am very well-known racist in Canada. I am very well-known white supremacist. And what I learned from Wikipedia, don't read it. I think they're working from Vladimir Lenin or Putin. It says that I am part of Aryan Guards. And I had to Google it up because you can learn so much about yourself when you read. I mean, seriously, I never knew that. I mean, wow. Apparently, I am a very wealthy man. And I got that wealth on the backs of the homeless. You learn so much about yourself all the time. So I am part of Aryan Guards. I had to Google it up who those boys are. And behold, they are the most vicious white gang in America. I said, praise God. Because then they think I'm dangerous. If I have a backing of Aryan Guards, no one will touch me. No one will touch me. So God uses even crazy stuff like that to protect us, you know. They just have forgotten to send me the invitation to join the club. But That's fine, whatever. Whatever works for you people, I'm okay. Always preach true democracy, but seize power as fast and as ruthlessly as possible. Encourage government extravagance, destroy its credit, produce fear with rising prices. What are we seeing right now? They are reading the same document and they are just flipping the pages. Okay, what is this page right now? In my country right now, the price of wood is 4 times more expensive than it was last year. And we are living in Canada and we have more wood than I think majority of the countries combined together. And yet the prices of wood are absolutely crazy. No one can afford right now to even repair stuff because it's insanity. If it comes to prices, food is on the rise, everything is on the rise. But that's because they want it that way. Fear with rising prices, inflation, and general discontent. Foment unnecessary strikes in vital industries. Encourage civil disorders, right? BLM, Antifa, rioters. And foster a soft and lenient attitude on the part of government towards such disorders. Being here even, I've seen the news, the majority of the rioters, they have been pardoned. You've heard that news? They were pillaging, burning stuff, doing evil things. They should be locked in jail for a long time to discourage others from doing the same. But you see, again, they are reading the same manifesto, communistic manifesto, straight from Lenin. Be lenient. Be soft on those evil people. By specious argument, cause the breakdown of the old moral virtues. Honesty, sobriety, continence, faith in a pledged word, ruggedness, cause the registration of all firearms. Sounds familiar? Cause the registration of all firearms on same pretext with the view of confiscating them and leaving the population defenseless. They've done, it was called the Long Gun Registry. You know, we're hunters, we're farmers, hunters. So you need your rifle for the bears. We got grizzly bears, black bears, we got mountain lions, we got coyotes, wolves roaming. You know, I live in Calgary and we have wolves and bears and other animals all the time. And the farmers, of course, closer to the mountains. They need their guns. Hunters need their guns, but they want to take them away. So what they did a few years ago, they did a long gun registry. The government knew how many guns you have, what kind of guns, and if you did not register them, then you would penalize and you could go to jail. And it happened in Canada. Don't you think it's time for you to stand up and rise up because it's coming here as well? They are coming for your guns. They want you to be a population that cannot defend themselves, yourself. He wrote that, Vladimir Lenin wrote that down 100 years ago exactly. 1921. I find it fascinating that they're implementing the same tactics in an anniversary of 100 years. This should open your eyes. Are you wondering what is happening? How it was done those few days before us? How they were able to destroy, pillage, and murder millions of people in the name of the law? Because we have to understand that everything those people did was lawful according to them. I was arrested in the middle of the highway, taken by SWAT team, anti-terrorists, and everything they did according to them was lawful. And my charges, I was charged with inciting people to come to church. Not kidding you. Guilty as charged, Your Honor. That's what I do. I do incite people to come to the church. I'm a pastor. Duh. What is my job? Kick them out and lock the doors and say, sorry, I am just by myself in my little bubble castle? I want people to come. Of course I want them to come. I want them to be happy. I want them to be free. Jesus sets the captives free. That's the job of a pastor, to lead them into the still waters and green pastures. I was a slave, but now I am free. I want people to be free. I want them to taste what I have. I want them to come. That's what I do. I want to feed the poor. I was the first Canadian pastor to be arrested for publicly reading Bible in 2006. I faced a year jail time because I dared to read Psalms to 6 of my parishioners. And the police showed up and they said, you're not allowed to do that. I said, why not? Well, because I tell you so. I said, well, you can tell your wife. But not me. Well, I am the law. I said, no, you're not. Well, then I got arrested. I faced a year, 7 criminal charges this devil put on me. And I faced a year jail, but I beat them up. I won. I stood over 100 times before different courts. Over 100 times before different courts, about 300 citations, and my newest adventures, and I'm telling you, it is an adventure. It's like swimming among the sharks. I love to do that. I actually went to Barbados to swim with sharks. I mean, I'm not kidding. And Belize, I love to swim with sharks because you see, they taste good. You see, that's the difference between me and other Christians. I'm not afraid of the sharks. I eat them. I'm not afraid of the hyenas. I eat them. That's why I have a little bit of a belly. I eat too many hyenas because other Christians are not helping me out. We pastors and leaders in the community, we got to rise up, stand up, and have the biggest feast ever seen on this side of eternity. We got to put those hyenas on the grill and keep grilling. When you do that, just be sure you grill a little bit longer, because then they taste horrible if they're not cooked properly. So you got to keep cooking a little bit longer. That's what I do on the streets of Calgary. I feed thousands of people, and I always tell my friends and the people listening, I say, listen, you have a choice in life. You can be an eagle, you can be a lion. I will never cook an eagle, I will never cook a lion. But if you want to remain a chicken or a turkey, you're going to end up on my grill. It's just a matter of time, not if, but when. So be very careful. Be very careful. This is how it was done. They implemented one little law at a time. Adolf Hitler, when he was democratically elected as Chancellor of Germany, he started to implement one law at a time. One law at a time. When the people were awakened to the reality that they have lost their country, it was too late. Let me say something to you, that the first victims of the Nazi Party were not Poles, were not Czech, were not the Jews. The first victims of the Nazi Party were the Germans. The concentration camps, the first ones, were built in Germany for the Germans. Right now in my country, in Canada, they're building, as we speak, concentration camps. And the politicians, the good ones, are asking them a question. Why are you building those facilities? To keep people in, not to keep people out. Why? And to this day, we do not have an answer. They have an agenda. They are implementing their agenda. They have been reading the Communist Manifesto. They are following Karl Marx and Engels and Lenin and Putin, and that's how they say it's going to be done. But I have a news for them. In 1981, remember I told you the story about the Philistines and the Israelites and us making a decision. You see, Polish people in 1981, finally, they made a decision. But let me take you just a few years before that, but I think it's important for you to understand. In the 60s, Polish people, there was an uprising in a city called Poznań. And the people Polish people took it to the streets. However, they invited the people from the universities, the young people, to come and join them, and the university people said no, for whatever reasons. They had divisions, right? Remember, to divide and conquer? So they didn't agree on some aspects, and only the workers took it to the streets. They were hammered without mercy. Many of them were shot dead, thousands arrested. 10 years later, the university students did an uprising in Poland, and they took it to the streets, and they asked the workers to come and join them. And the workers says, you didn't join us 10 years before, we're not going to join you now. And the students were crushed. Many killed, many arrested. In 1981, facing the Philistines, the Polish people realized that they cannot win this by themselves. They have to unite, they have to forget about all the 10,000 different divisions. If I would sit with you, sooner than later, we will agree to disagree. Because there will be thousands of things that we see differently. And if we start talking politics, the fight will be a lot sooner. Because we're different people. We see the world differently. We have different backgrounds, different values. But if we can agree on one thing, just one thing, not even religion, not even God. God is such an amazing God that He's allowing us to make that decision for ourselves. He says, fine, here is the gift. Life, I'm giving it to you for free. But you can take it or you can leave it. So put that aside. If we can agree on one word, freedom. Freedom. That's it. If we can march together under the umbrella of freedom, it would be over for the villains. That's it. That's how simple it is. That's how simple it is. In Poland, there were 50,000 Philistines. 50,000 communists were ruling over 36 million Poles until the 36 millions said a simple words. Wait a second. There's more of us than of them. We can actually take our hat off and throw it, and we will bury them. We'll suffocate them with just hats. We don't even have to use swords and weapons. We just need to take it to the streets. You want to win your fight? You got to go out there. You got to support. Come here for a second. Come, yes. We just met, but you're running for a political office. If you will not support your candidates, if you will not fight for them so they can fight for you, you will lose every single time. Because what I know about hyenas is that they are very organized and they're supporting each other. We as lions, eagles, we have to start supporting those that are willing to fight for us. You're running for?
The Superintendent of Public Instruction to head the Department of Education.
And that's the next year, right? It's the yes. I've heard about this election coming. I will do my best to even come here and support you Americans. So we can educate, support, and help godly people, good people. They're not perfect. I'm sure you're not perfect. You're just like me. We are very imperfect people. We can be very close, but we're still not perfect. You're a lot better looking than me. I'm failing in this aspect big time. However, we are serving a big God, a powerful God that is a holy God. Thank you. I didn't want to take you on the spot, put you on the spot. But this is a visual thing. You see, you have someone that is willing to do the dirty job for you. That's a David that wants to fight the giant. The giants are big and they don't play fair. And their weapons are a lot bigger than ours. But let me remind you a simple fact during that story. David tried to use their own techniques. And he puts the armor of the king, Saul. Remember the story? And he takes the Saul's sword. And he's trying. He's trying to be like them. But he was never meant to be like them. Amen. He was always meant to be David. Amen. Be who God made you to be. You want to win? Be you. God created you. Don't be somebody else. Don't pretend to be someone that you're not. Be real. You know why I fell in love? Just don't tell him that. With Donald Trump. I have a wife, so that's what I'm saying. I love the man not because he has money and power and all the time he said clever things and smart things, because sometimes he didn't. Not because he was implementing always perfect laws. He didn't. Sometimes I was very upset. I wanted to take his hair and just fix it a little bit. But I respected the man because he said what was in his heart. And that's a very rare thing. Very rare thing. Very rare thing in my profession. Because pastors are cheaters, liars, they're preaching to the wallets, they want your money most of the time. They will tell you what you want to hear. Politicians are exactly, because pastors are like politicians. They are playing to the crowd. The politicians are doing exactly the same thing, you know, like the queen. She's almost dead, but, you know, have you seen that? I mean, my God, put a little bit of energy into this. I mean, at least pretend you like people, because like, I hate you, I have to do this because they told me to do it. No. You see, that's why I respected Donald Trump, because he is a man of the people. He hangs around with the people, commoners. He visits people in the hospital. I mean, I saw so many things. I said, wow, I wish I had a president like that. I wish he was my president in Canada, because we have a communistic devil, Justin Trudeau, that worships China. Donald Trump, as imperfect as a man he is, at least he said what he believed in his own heart. And that was a hard thing sometimes to swallow for many people. But I take him anytime than a polished, lying politician. Because at least you know where he stands on the issues. You will not be stabbed in a bag the moment he leaves the podium. 1981, 50,000 communists were ruling over 36 million Poles. The Philistines were ugly, evil. Here is how life looked like under communism. I started with the chocolate. There were countless of lineups. This is what I remember growing up. Never-ending lineups. For this and for that. I remember every week I had to stand in a huge lineup, huge. You could not see the end, for a loaf of bread. One, only one, you could buy it. I remember the times where you could buy a car after waiting for it 10, 15, 20 years. They would give you a piece of paper, and you waited for that car 10 years, 15 years, and the car originally cost, let's say, $1,000, but 20 years later it was like $20,000. Right? The inflation was crazy. Finally, you bought that car for $20,000, let's say, a zlotych, and you drove that car for 15 years and you sold it for 100,000 zlotych. Because people could not buy cars. So they were willing to buy a junk as long as they could have a car. Because only the government officials and the bodies of the government officials, the communists, could buy a car. Corruption everywhere, left and right. You think the communism is equal, you know, it's a great equalizer? There are always rulers, masters, the pharaohs, and then the slaves. For them, everything, whatever the heart desired, they did not follow their own laws. I remember when I was a smuggler and I smuggled cassettes at that time, the movies, and the movies were illegal. American movies, you could not watch. You could be arrested for that. But we smuggled the cassettes for the government. And the government officials could watch any movie they wanted. But the rest of the society could be arrested. Is that not what we see right now? They're traveling, eating, going, visiting parents, traveling with their jets and helicopters, telling you, sit down like a proper dog, don't visit your parents, don't go for a coffee, put a mask on, be a good dog, be a good cat, and off they go for a vacation in Europe. That's our politicians. They are arresting pastors, they're arresting politicians. My friend is still in jail, a mayoral candidate, Kevin J. Johnston, is still in jail We have a mayor, a Muslim homosexual mayor, Nahed Nengshi in Calgary, and my friend is running against him. He was arrested for not wearing a mask at the rally. He's still in jail over a month for not wearing a mask. And yet, the Premier of Alberta just had a big party after announcing that you're not allowed to have a certain amount of people in your house. He just had a party with other ministers breaking all the rules, no physical distancing, no wearing masks. Even the waitresses were not wearing masks. And he doesn't care. He's not arrested. SWAT team didn't come for him. It looks like they can do whatever they want, and the rest of us were just slaves. 36 million people finally said enough. We're not your slaves. God never created us to be your slaves. You're just like us. And they took it to the streets. The moment they took it to the streets, they paralyzed the entire country. They refused to work. You want to win your country back? Refuse to comply. Just say, people say to me, what can we do? What can be done? I say, you have to learn 3 words. Really. Even a dog can learn 3 words. Just say to them, no. I'm not going to submit to your crazy rules. I'm not your slave. I'm telling you no, 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 no. And then tell them, get out. Get out. I'm not saying to you, get out. I need you still. Get out.
You're coming with me.
Get out. Get out from my family. Get out from my business. Get out from my restaurant. Get out from my church. Who do you think you are, you uncircumcised Philistine? Mr. Biden, who do you think you are? Fauci, who do you think you are? Who do you think you people are that you should say to us Christians that we cannot worship our God, that we cannot meet our family, that we are to be proper dogs with a muzzle on? You put it on, and you know what? Put 100 of them on. Help us to get rid of you, because sooner or later you will suffocate with your own craziness. They are eliminating manliness, to be tough, to be strong. They're not teaching kids how to be strong anymore. I remember one day my wife was interviewed by a nationwide reporter, and she almost never gives interviews. She says, you go and you bark at them. So that's what I do. I keep barking. But from time to time, she will say yes. And right now, she's doing all the interviews in Canada, and she is actually leading the charge. She could be arrested at any moment. There was a March for Jesus that was done on Sunday, and she led the charge, even though there were so many police officers. We need to bring back strong women, and we need to bring back strong men. Both of them are desperately needed. Strong men and strong women. They don't want us to know, they don't want to teach the kids how to be a man. Everything is shallow, weak, selfish, no commitment. That's why you got so many divorces these days. Because we have a tendency to say, if there is a trouble, let's just call it a quit. Let's just quit. You see, we have a saying on the streets of Calgary, we say, winners never quit, quitters never win. Do you want to win this fight? Do you want to win this fight against those giants of the land? Yes. Then you have to keep pushing forward. They are here to create fear and terror. They want to control the media. They want you to focus on unimportant things, stupid things. Watch another dumb movie. Don't get involved into politics. You know how many times I've heard from Christians, telling me, why are you involving yourself in politics? I said, because the light has to penetrate the darkness. Now I'm needed there more than ever. More than ever. We Christians, we should be everywhere. Educational system, media, political arena. Everywhere we go. They want to control everything. You see, Russians were controlling everything. If you were caught listening to European radio, you could go to jail for 5 years. So it was not only the big lineups and lack of necessities of life. I remember this one time when I was a kid, coming from school, my mom would say, well, there's coffee coming. Well, I was a kid. I didn't drink coffee at the time. And she says, I need you to stand in a lineup because in 3 days' time, coffee is coming. So what we did, I went to school. I got back from school. I exchanged my father, and then my father went to work, and then my mom would come and pick me up, and there was a dinner at home, and this was going on for 3 days for 1 kilo of coffee. That's not it. You couldn't just go, even if you had the money, you couldn't just go and buy, let's say, 10 kilos of meat if you wanted, because the government was telling you how much you can buy in a month. So there was the little pieces of paper, the food stamps. Have you ever heard about the food stamps? Well, I grew up with them. 1 kilo of sugar, 2 kilos of beef a month, and that's how it went. Crazy stuff. Crazy. Kids think that communism and socialism is fun because everyone will be equal. I'm telling you, when there are people, there will be masters, but you will be slaves. Wake up. They want to control everything. Why? Because you see, truth is like a pillar. It can stand on its own. It doesn't need any support. But the lie needs to be supported by fear, terror. Why do you think they're giving us those tickets all the time? And they're scaring us, threatening us, right? You will not be able to do this. You will not be able to travel. You will not, no, fear and terror. And people are terrified. They don't know what's really going on. And the misinformation, disinformation all the time. Is this restriction taken? Can I wear a mask? Do I have to? Like, what's going on? I hear this all the time. Do we need a test? The useless test? Now it's vaccines, the jabs. And people are dying by the tens of thousands, left and right. It's not even a vaccine. Because the virus has never been isolated yet. So what they're giving you, what they're putting in your body, are you okay with that? The government, the wonderful government, the Biden is standing here and says, take the jab. Do you trust the guy that forgets his own name? And he's telling you it's safe. Look at me. It's so safe, I don't know what's going on. The guy doesn't know even what year is today. What date? And he's telling you it's perfectly safe. Take it, you good Americans. Be a good slave. They are here to eliminate every and any opposition. Create defenseless society. Removal of natural leadership, pastors, teachers, patriots. Have you wondered why there is such a huge attack on patriots? Because you see, middle-class people are very peculiar people. We are well-traveled. We've seen places. Usually, middle-class people are well-educated. And if you take them off, they will hire a lawyer and they will sue you. And they don't want that. Government right now, communistic, socialistic government only wants 2 categories of people. Extremely powerful and wealthy. That's why Walmart is open, Costco is open, superstores are open. All those mega stores, Target, whatever you have here, is open. Why? Because if this virus was so deadly, if this was a real pandemic, then it makes sense to actually give it to the smaller the smaller grocery stores, because the traffic is a lot smaller, so it's easier to control the traffic. But you got hundreds of people coming all the time, and that's somehow safe. But you having as a person in your house for coffee, somehow that's not safe. There is an agenda. Here is what the Canadian, at least, government are doing. The appearance of the law must be upheld, especially while it's being broken. That's exactly what we're seeing, left and right. The appearance of the law must be upheld. So they all are wearing their muzzle for the cameras and then off. Have you watched the G7? Right? Did you see those lying, thieving, communistic, socialistic, fascist, the Gestapo out there? And they would take pictures 2 meters apart, and after the cameras were not rolling, like, hey, buddy, how are you? Like, those stupid slaves, they're buying everything. They're eating everything. I mean, it's ridiculous. They were laughing, joking. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable what's happening. Create chaos using divisions. Race wars, cultural wars, the BLM, the Antifa. Turn people against each other. Let them fight among themselves while they, the rulers, take what they want. Here's an interesting scripture. In 1981, when the Polish people took it over, the Goliaths were nowhere to be found. Here, I want to read the scripture for you. It's in Exodus 5. Afterward, Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and said, "This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. Let my people go so that they may hold a festival to me in a desert." People are wondering, why have I called those nice police officers Gestapo? Well, I'll tell you why, because they have been hunting me down for the past 15 months. They didn't show up just one time. They have been harassing me, intimidating my parishioners, ticketing me without mercy since March of 2020. I was the first clergyman to get a ticket, $1,200. My parishioner was shoved, assaulted by the police officer. 12 of them showed up, and I was given a ticket, and they told me, "You will be arrested, and we'll give you $1 million ticket." And I said to them, "You know what? You're throwing those numbers like you're crazy. $1 million, why not $1 billion?" I mean, at this moment, it's just a number. So I said to the chief of police, I had a meeting with the chief of police, and I said, "You know what, give me $1 billion so I can become the first man on earth with $1 billion ticket. At least let's play this game." I mean, what, are you going to take my shoes away? They're not that good, and they were cheap. You see, why they're throwing those numbers this way? It's just simple psychology, fear, terror. They're telling you, "We're going to give you a ticket." And if you say, "So what? Give me a ticket. I'll fight it in court." There their power goes. The house of cards crumbles. If the people say no, what are they going to do? If the 36 million Poles said to 50,000 communist devils, "We will never again work for you," it was over for the communists. And we know how the story ends. Yes, few people were shot. Thousands, tens of thousands were arrested in 1981, 1982. But we know that the Berlin Wall has fallen down, the Iron Curtain was broken, and Poland became the best democracy on earth. And it was done. And it was done by few brave people that finally realized there is more of us than of them. Few lions came together, and they have ate the hyenas for breakfast. And it was over. Fauci said, "Who is the Lord that I should obey him and let Israel go? I do not know the Lord, and I will not let Israel go." Then they said, "The God of the Hebrews has met with us. Now let us take a 3-day journey into the desert to offer sacrifice to the Lord our God, or he may strike us with plagues or with the sword." But the king of Egypt said to Moses and Aaron, "Why are you taking the people away from their labor? Go back to your work." Then Pharaoh said, "Look, the people of the land are now numerous, and you are stopping them from working." In Poland, we have this famous saying, if you do not know what the whole thing is all about, it's always about money. It's always about money. This great reset that they say you will own nothing and you will be happy, I really like if they would follow that advice. So you got those trillionaires, those billionaires, and I say to them, okay, share your wealth with the rest of us, and you will own nothing and you will be happy. Follow your own advice. But you see, that's not the case. They're not giving anything away. They're stealing from you. And the question is very simple. Are you okay with that? I was not okay when they came to our church after 15 months of harassing us, giving me, I got 29 COVID tickets, 3 court orders, 2 injunctions, and 2 contempt of court, and that arrest in the middle of the highway. And I'm still fighting. And I'm still saying to them the same thing I said at the very beginning. No, and get out. Now imagine if all of us would do the same. Everywhere we go, put a mask on. No. When they arrested me with my brother David, they took us to jail. And we spent about 30 hours on concrete. They did not allow us to sleep. And about every half hour, they would come and they would bang on the door to make sure that we will not fall asleep. And then they transferred us to prison. And it was so funny. It was so funny because they took us to this place and they said, here is the mask, you have to put it on. And I was like, no. You have to. No. But everybody does. But I'm not everybody. Look, everyone has to wear a mask. I said, not me. They realized there is nothing, they're not going anywhere. That way, they're not going to build their empire using me. So they turned to my brother and they thought he's weaker than me. Like, he says, you have to put the mask on. He's like, are you kidding me? No. You have to. No. You will put it on. No, I will not. So they threw us into a cell together. This was the best thing that could happen to us. Because before, 10 minutes? 3 minutes. Wow. Look what you do. You're breaking their hearts. Get out, you Nazi, you Gestapo. Nah, he's a good guy. Only on weekends, though. He's our friend Apollo. Apollo picked us up. Actually, it's because of this man. He called me in Calgary. He arranged the original meeting on Skype with Joe.
Yeah, Conservative Daily.
Think about it. He's amazing. How God puts everything together is unbelievable. When you're willing to obey, you see, the greatest verse for me, outside of course, Jesus, is a God that is walking around this earth and he's asking the same question. He says, whom are we going to send? Who will go for us? I'll paraphrase a little bit. Who will stand for righteousness? Who will be the voice of the truth? Who will be my hands? Who will be my eyes? Who will be my mouthpiece? Who will go for us? And this man, this hero, says, here I am, Lord, use me. If every one of us would just say those words, here we are, use us, this whole fight would be over. They threw us in the prison cell together. I was so happy because the 30 hours before we were in solitary confinement. I'm telling you, there's nothing to do. I asked for the Bible. They refused to give me the Bible. They said there is not even one in jail, so that tells you what's going on. The Canadian government removed the Bibles from the public square, removed the prayer from the schools, removed the 10 Commandments from the government buildings and from the courts. And here we are today in a big trouble. Because without God, you have absolutely nothing. When God leaves the area, who remains? It's the devil. And that's exactly what is happening in our country. So we have to bring God back. People are asking me, what is the solution? What is the solution? What is the solution? The solution has been, is, and will always be the same. Bring God back. Bring God back. Bring God back. We spent 3 days and 2 nights. We were deprived of sleep. They took our clothes away. We were naked, stripped, in the filthiest cell you can imagine. And we were the happiest people on earth. I know it's weird. Christians are weird. Because the Bible says, rejoice. Rejoice. I'm telling you, rejoice. When the people do all kinds of evil against you for my name's sake. Because why? Because great is your reward. Great will be our reward. So be courageous. Be strong. Be brave. Go out there and fight the good fight, because we know how the story ends. We win in the end. Be blessed.